From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, show about Star Wars pop culture, the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napzok.
And I'm Jennifer Landa.
And for one of the only occasions in the history of our program, it's happened a few times, but Joseph Scrimshaw's out helping his dreams come true, making his dreams come true by getting ready to film, and he's home in Minneapolis. Building, driving trucks. He's he's doing good things. And cold temperatures. He texted me this morning. It's actually cold here versus the heat that has returned here in Southern California. We're going to look at some Star Wars news today. Breaking news from a long time ago, as we like to say. And we're going to focus on just one aspect of news. A lot of things out there. Some rumors of shows. Maybe we'll talk about that in our main discussion. We got some late-breaking comments from Daisy Ridley, but nothing that's super new or groundbreaking about the Rey movie and her excitement for it. But before we get to all that, we're going to let you know, as always, that today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. I don't know people just walking around with MP3 players, but if you do...
I had that visual of me with my iPod. I don't think that's not an MP3 player, but
I pulled my old iPod out. I found it in some storage. It's like, oh, maybe this will work. No, can't charge it. Can't work.
No.
You can't listen to Audible. But you out there can listen to Audible by getting your free audiobook today. And we're recommending The Living Force by Jonathan Jackson Miller. Download your free audiobook today by going to audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. Again, as always, that's audibletrial.com/ForceCenter. That's the Audible A. Jen, you're going to handle our Ask today, which is our other A.
That's right. We are asking for some help on Patreon. Right now, I think we are at, 400-ish?
Yeah, 402-ish. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, okay, we're hovering around there. We are asking to reach to 415 patrons on Patreon, at which point we will do a private live stream just for our patrons. Who knows what we're going to tackle? Do we know? Do we have any idea what we're going to watch?
I don't know. You're making it sound like a Tina Turner song. You know, I'll be a private dancer, morning. Yeah, no, it'll be good. Yeah, we're going to just hang out and do it exclusive for Patreon supporters. So, yeah. There you go. Mm-hmm. And look, Patreon is an old thing by now. You know, that's what your grandparents used to run their podcast on, was Patreon. But it's still going strong, still helping keep our show alive and well in this ever-changing digital media landscape. Mm-hmm. Normally, Jennifer, we do life adventures. We're going to do that here. But you and I both talking off air. You know, not a lot of life or Star Wars adventures worth talking about on a podcast. Star Wars didn't find you this week in a major way.
I can't even think of what I did. I did celebrate my 10-year anniversary with my husband. That's what I did do. See. Yeah. We had
that's a Star Wars connection with the Star Wars wedding you had.
That's right. The Star Wars wedding. We were reminiscing on that, how grateful we were to have the 501st troopers who came. We only had 2 of them. But boy, they made an impact. Our guests were very, very happy to see them. And 10 years is a long time.
It's a long time. 10 years, man.
Yeah.
That wasn't too far removed from when I ended up actually meeting with you on Jedi Alliance. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's 10 years ago too. Wow.
Isn't that wild? It really doesn't feel that long ago, but when I think about all the things that have happened in that time, I'm just like, what? Mm-hmm. I mean, I was searching for some vintage clothes, and I'm like typing in 1970s, because to me, that's vintage. And I realized, there's nothing popping up. I have to type in 1990s. Mm-hmm. That's vintage now. That was terrifying for me.
Yep. It's a scary thing. It's a scary thing. And time, it's not just about time moving so fast. It's just like your brain stays in one spot. That's why the joke of, I think the last decade was the 90s is true.
Yes.
It's still like, I just moved to LA. Like, we're figuring this out, right? It's 25 years later, but we're just figuring this out.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I'm with you too. I had a busy week, getting some work done, and I just didn't have a lot of time for anything, including Star Wars. It's funny. I said maybe I wasn't going to mention this on there. I'll mention it a little bit. I was at a friend's fall equinox party yesterday. It was great. There was archery, great food. I just stayed by the food. And there was in the other room, there was some people arguing about Star Wars. I heard them yelling about Star Wars. Well, Andor's this. Andor's not really Star Wars. Well, and I said to myself, I don't go in that room. I don't go in that room.
Yeah.
I'm not going in there. And my buddy Adam Witt, who I've mentioned on the show before, former guest, part of the Movie Guys, Paul Preston, he and I lockstep in agreement on not only our love of Star Wars, but that we don't talk about Star Wars in public anymore unless we really, really want to with the right people. He comes in the room and I was like, you started this. It is, I did. And he goes, why don't you come in there? I said, I'm not. And then I realized they were all at the bar and I was out of my drinks.
Oh, boy.
And I needed to go refill my rum and died. So I did. And Jen got into a fun where we all agreed we love Star Wars, but let's just yell at each other about it. And it was a good time. And we all came to an agreement that Star Wars is a good thing.
I like that. I feel like that would be nice, right? Where it's like we all agree we love Star Wars, but we can hash it out. It's fun to debate. That's what makes us fans. It's when it turns personal. People start insulting you that it's like, okay, this is not fun anymore.
That's exactly what I was saying. It was not gamified. No one was winning points. Right. These are like people in the industry, people who have actually like pitched to Lucasfilm. So that's but it wasn't. None of that was factoring in. It was just like being fans, yelling about what they thought about Boba Fett and his book, or Andor and their politics, or Andor and its lack of pulp. It was just a lot of fun. So I actually had a good time versus some of the other times I've talked about on the show here, where I just don't want to be a Star Wars fan in certain rooms anymore. Not that I'm going to hide my little light of Star Wars fandom, but sometimes not worth the trouble. Anyway, so there you go. I had one Star Wars Life Adventure, Jen.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that.
Well, we're going to move right into our Star Wars news story, and we've got Space Pirates. That's right. Entertainment Weekly's fall preview, which, speaking of time passing, Jen, is all digital now. When I remember that fall preview showing up in my mailbox years ago. When I had my Entertainment Weekly subscription. The fall preview has given us a closer look at the upcoming Skeleton Crew series and their main villains, at least as far as we know. And that, of course, is pirates. Now, we knew that Vane from The Mandalorian Season 3 would be on the show. That had been out there for a while. Plus, we obviously had seen some stuff in the trailers, even going back to London in 2023 for Star Wars Celebration. But now we have a look at the crew he runs with in full. We got a look at an exclusive photo of the following characters. Vane, portrayed by Marty Matulis. Gunter, portrayed by Jaleel White. We'll come back to that. Brutus, which is Fred Tascasciore. I almost said Tessitore, which was my band teacher in high school. I wasn't in band, but my friends were. Performance artist Stephen O'Young plays him as well. Pax, performance artist, is Mike Estes. And Shalette, which is Dale Souls. Of course I'm saying them all wrong because it's Star Wars. And we're going to jump right to this, Jed. We got some other stuff with Jude Law's character, but we're going to talk about the space pirates of it all. What are your space pirate general thoughts here?
I love space pirates. There is something about pirates in general that just it gets to the kid in me. I was on Pirates of the Caribbean not that long ago, and it's just a fun hang to be amidst the pirates. They're mysterious, they're dangerous, they're often funny, there's adventure, right? It's just the right amount of danger. Whereas, pirates in real life, I would never want to meet a real pirate. But in space, sure.
Yeah, I like one of the things I like you're saying there is it brings out the kid in you, or kind of connects to kid-like things, even though pirates in real life.
Right.
Now and in the past, I wouldn't call them kitty friendly, but the Disney of it all and the Goonies of it all, right? With a fabled magical like kind of pirate ship, and there's the idea of pirates. This works for the series based around 4 kids finding out a secret and getting lost in the galaxy. And our pirates are out there in the space. I like that a lot. I did like the pirates enough in Mandalorian. I like Gorian Shard and the design. Vane was good. The whole thing with Grief in the bar in the past, I liked it. That wasn't necessarily my favorite thing in season 3, but I did like them being there. But I like them a little bit more now. This seems like if you're going an 80s Amblin vibe in Star Wars, we absolutely need pirates.
100%. And I agree with you. I don't know how I felt about the Pirates and the Mandalorian. It was fun, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say it came out of nowhere for me. It made sense. It was just like,
Yeah.
okay, there's pirates. But now taking that idea and really expanding upon it in this show, that I really enjoy.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about the era this is in, but we know the Empire is gone, but remnants are out there. You've got we're always going to have our smugglers and our bounty hunters in Star Wars, but pirates going back, especially if you're a fan of the Clone Wars series, the Hondo Watch that a lot of people have. Our friend PLD over at Holy Snokes podcast has his Hondo Watch still going. I'm not saying Hondo's going to show up here, but I think the needle's actually moving if that's where you want to go. And this is where I will bring in one of the rumors. This is a complete rumor, not reporting this as a news story, but it's out there. They're like production kind of websites that maybe the next Star Wars live action show is Star Wars Pirates. I don't know how much faith to put in that, and I don't even know if that's something I would like, but I definitely want to see how it plays out in this series. And you have an interesting way to explore the piratery of Star Wars in a way that maybe the general Star Wars audience hasn't before with kids and pirates.
I didn't realize it was a live action series that it was supposed to be.
I've got to admit I didn't do a deep dive in the rumor. I think it is. I think that's the case. Could be animated, which would be easier to bring in Hondo, but not that you couldn't do live action Hondo. Don't want to upset my Hondo fans.
I do wonder how that would be if the pirates are going to be a main storyline and Skeleton Crew, and then to be like, and surprise, we have another live action show with just the pirates. It feels a little, I don't want to say redundant, but
Yeah, the only thing that would make me go, all right, let me reserve judgment if this is true and bears fruit is, after Clone Wars Season 7 introduced the Bad Batch, and I kind of rolled my eyes like, backdoor pilot, and now here it is. At that party yesterday, was yelling about Bad Batch being my favorite Star Wars show. So, I'll allow for pirates to take over my Star Wars love and life. This speaks to our generation, Jen, even though, I count it as our generation, but I was already, we were a little older by this time. I didn't spend a lot of Friday nights watching TGIF programming. I don't know if you did, but not that I was doing anything cool on Friday nights. I was up in my room, like watching baseball. But Jaleel White will forever be known as Urkel, of course. But he has arrived finally to the Star Wars galaxy. We kind of knew this was happening. This has been revealed, but it's kind of fun to have him here, at least I think on the surface. But now we got a good shot of Jaleel White as Gunter the Pirate. That's how I'm choosing to say it. Everyone's going to have the pirate at the end of their name until I'm told otherwise. Judd, thoughts on Urkel arriving in Star Wars?
I love it. I did watch TGIF because I had a younger sister. And, now looking back, I understand really Jaleel White carried Family Matters. Like he made this big character that was not supposed to be a series regular, right?
Yeah.
And he made that show and it became a pop culture icon. Did I do that? Like all these things that came out of Urkel. And I'm glad to see he's gained the respect that he deserves, right? Because remember, there was a period where he was, I don't want to say like laughed at, but kind of like seen as like, oh, he's just Urkel.
He's just
like
Urkel.
A joke, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Star Wars is really good about bringing people into the fold and being like, listen, we appreciate you. We get it. We see the talent, right? We're going to bring you in and give you the flowers that you deserve. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, fun's the key. I think this is a perfect series for them. I think they've done, particularly in the Mandoverse world of it all, the Mando and Book of Boba Fett kind of fun casting choices of that person's in Star Wars. Christopher Lloyd. Didn't hear Christopher Lloyd say Count Dooku in a Star Wars story. Danny Trejo. One of my favorite scenes from Book of Boba Fett is his Rancor Keeper moment with Boba Fett. Amy Sedaris. It goes on and on and on. Of Brian Posehn being in the first episode of the Mando series is still funny and fun for me as a fan of comedy. So I like this idea, and I'm not going to say it's a chance for him to stretch his wings as a performer, but it's a chance for him just to be something new to a new generation of fans, and that's just fun for me as a Star Wars fan. I don't need to go deeper than that. It's just fun.
It's just fun. It's fun. And the image that they have of him as this like
Mhm.
cyborg kind of pirate, it
Yes.
felt very, very Goonies, very Hook. I don't know why I kept coming back to the movie with
Mm.
Robin Williams, Hook.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
one, in a good way. I don't know what it is, but it just really feels like it's hitting that sweet spot for me of like
Mm.
nostalgia and newness with the pirates. And it's certainly going to tap into our generation, slightly
Mhm.
younger, who will be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, we know him," and introduce it to the younger fans of why Urkel matters.
Urkel matters. Yeah, yeah. You highlighted on his design. He's a cyborg. He's got a little bit of the Lobot earpieces going, headpieces going. I like that, and we'll see how. I've kind of thought that Vane is the leader of this crew, but that could be incorrect because Pax up here in the front, we got the return of the werewolf characters, which we have talked about before here on the show, and I always forget. I had it at the Shistavanen, right?
Right.
Shistavanen? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Who is the leader of the crew?
Maybe we haven't met him yet, and
Ooh,
maybe it's Jude Law.
Jodna Nawad?
Jodna Nawad. A name we get to say with a straight face. Star Wars fans. Yeah. Any thoughts too before we dive a little bit deeper into the era? The designs we've seen some of these before. The trailers have been out. This looks like the cantina come to life, Jen, and you love the cantina and all those creatures. So, any thoughts on what's going on here in this photo?
I love seeing the werewolf front and center. I love the weirdness of it. It feels very Star Wars, but also I don't know, like just I don't want to say pulpy because it's not necessarily pulpy, but just like that classic weird Star Wars that we love.
You know what this
Yeah.
seems like to me? Yeah, and it's so funny. See, I said I wasn't going to talk about this argument I got in Jen, but what is Star Wars was at the center of this party
Oh,
bar argument, and it's so many things, and it can be so many things. But obviously, pulpy comes up in adventure. What weird Star Wars comes up a lot, and Pablo Hidalgo has always said, "Keep Star Wars weird." This shot, the one we're looking at that was released in Entertainment Weekly, looks like a 1978 comic book. The
yes.
Marvel comic run when they
Yes.
still didn't know what canon was or were just taking big swings. It has that late 70s sci-fi Star Wars vibe.
That's it. That's what I was trying to say. Exactly. And I keep Star Wars weird. That should be on a t-shirt because that's what
Yeah.
I believe. I think
Mm.
and this is what I'm looking forward to with the show. I don't think it's going to take itself so seriously in
Hmm.
the sense that like yes, it's going to have canon, there's going to be a lot of heartful moments I imagine, but there
Sure.
is going to be kind of some sort of recognition. Yes, we have this guy in a werewolf suit who's
Hmm.
the leader of the pirates. Like it's just silly in the
Potentially.
best way.
We should put down some bets on who we think the leader. But we got Vane running 3-1, Pax 2-1. Yeah, we'll do some
Yeah.
odds.
Yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't have Jaleel White and just have him only say like 2 lines. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
that would be a waste.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I didn't think about that. Oh my God. Wouldn't that be a tragedy if he goes the way of Lobot and just can't really say much?
oh my
No.
gosh, can you
No.
imagine? No.
They're going to get him. They're going to get him saying something there. We have the series been described in several places as Goonies in space. That's been going around for a bit and has the Amblin stuff. They've been, Christopher Ford, John Watts have been open about that in their previous interviews. But the article by Dalton Ross from Entertainment Weekly added this ingredient, reading straight from the article here. Exploring the edges of wild space is something that co-creator Watts is excited to do, but not just due to his love of Star Wars, but also because of his love of a certain LucasArts video game series that dates all the way back to 1990. Watts says, I'm also a big fan of Monkey Island. That's also classic Lucas. So somewhere between Star Wars Pirates and Monkey Island Pirates, I think we found our sweet spot. For those that didn't know, and I got to admit, I didn't have a ton of knowledge of Monkey Island. It was a fun game series based around trying to become the most notorious pirate in the land. So there you go. A fun quest to become a notorious pirate. Did you know about this game at all, Jen?
I had no idea, but I did watch some gameplay of it.
Oh,
It
you did
is
some research.
Yeah, it is so specific. It's very, very funny. Like there's a pirate named Meat Hook, which should tell you all you need to know
Yep.
about this game, right?
Okay.
And like you're supposed to like, have these conversations with people, and sometimes you can talk trash to them or you can apologize. It's like It's
Mm.
silly, quite frankly, but there's a
Yeah.
really unique kind of Castlevania dark style to the game. It's very 8-bit,
Mm.
but it looks fun. I never played it.
I like that you can teach kids to apologize in piracy. I think that's important. It's an important lesson for the kids to learn is apologies while you're becoming notorious. No, it seems that, and it has that. 1990 starts the series. It has that early 90s kind of vibe too, and I don't even know what that means. It has a Saturday morning cartoon kind of feel to it, wrapped around a pirate motif. And again, I think we both kind of said our thoughts on the pirates, but rounding out the pirates of it all kind of discussion point. I think if you would even looking at this rumored Pirates series or like, it wouldn't get me too excited on paper. Like I think I've fought against the idea of, well, we're gonna have a Kenobi series. He'll probably take on pirates trying to steal water, which has been something in books and comics before that has worked, but I just didn't. It felt smaller for a Kenobi series. It felt smaller for even Mandalorian against the backdrop of the bigger problems in the galaxy going on at the time. I liked it because it was specific to Grief Karga and his past. So I have not an anti-pirate take in Star Wars, but I think this is the perfect mix. Kids out in the galaxy, and you got nasty pirates, which is almost, it's fables. It's them like they've heard rumors of pirates, and now here they are. I like that. I think this is the perfect spot for them.
I agree. It's nice to get a break from the Jedi and the Sith. I mean, it's a chance to bring new people into the fold, right? Everyone knows what a pirate is. They have some sort of idea of what a pirate is. Okay, well, now you do that. You do it with Star Wars. It's just a good entry point for everyone, which is what I think that they're hoping for, certainly for younger viewers. I'm excited. And I think that John Watts was inspired by the humor of that Monkey Island game. And I imagine that there is going to be a lot of adventure, a lot of action, but also a lot of humor. And that's going to be nice to see in Star Wars.
Yeah. The fun, which we talked about Donald Glover's comments about the Lando movie and the importance of fun in Star Wars. Not that you cannot go deep, dark, dare we say gritty, the Andor of it all, but even the Revenge of the Sith of it all, or even Empire Strikes Back of it all. Like, it all has its place. But as has been said many times, Empire Strikes Back is arguably also one of the funnier Star Wars films. And I think that ingredient's often forgotten. So I'm looking forward to this. And the track record, this has been discussed before, the track record of Ford and Watts and what they've done with the Spider-Man films and that kind of, big picture, big adventure, big blockbuster, but the heart of being either a teenager or a kid or a youngster coming up has been present in all the things they've done. And I think this is I still say, Jen, and we're not done talking about it, we're going to talk about it after the break, but I still say Skeleton Crew is going to surprise a lot of jaded fans. I think.
You think so?
I think so. Maybe I'm hopeful.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about ones who are just done with Star Wars or ones who are grifting their way through the Star Wars landscape. I'm talking about the ones who, the discourse, like you and I are in a spot of just like, I don't know. Do I want to wear a Star Wars shirt today? Because I love it. It's my life, but I don't know if I want it today. I don't want the energy. And I think come the holiday season, we might sit down and be whisked away like kids from a suburb into an adventure again. And I'm hopeful.
Maybe it'll make people's hearts grow 3 times larger. I really do wonder about some of the people who do kind of monetize hate, all this stuff. Like, how is this going to be able to reach them and get them back to what made them Star Wars fans in the first place? I hope so. I hope that this can kind of bridge the gap. I don't know.
I'll follow you into that wonderful thought and idea. We'll see. I think some folks it won't, and I think some folks out there, it's been proven that they won't stop with younger performers. So I hope the younger performers in the series aren't attacked and all those kind of horrible things. But I'm not hopeful for that. But I just think there's that warm, gooey general center of Star Wars fandom that I think is going to be like, all right, okay, I'll see. Space kids in the suburbs, I don't know. And then I think, maybe it'll be a fun adventure. Maybe not. We'll see.
Maybe not. We'll see. We're going to go with open hearts and open minds as we always do.
Gonna try to find what is there for us. We're gonna take a quick break. But on the other side, now, Jen, you did talk about the lack of Jedi. There's a quote. I didn't necessarily pull it from the article, but it does talk about, we work with Dave Filoni, and he said, oh, yeah, you want to create a different kind of Jedi? People have thought about that, but let's do this. So on the other side, we got some Jude Law and maybe Jedi pirate thoughts. Stick around for more ForceCenter. All right, we are here talking Star Wars news. Thank you for hanging out with us, whether it's on YouTube. Subscribe if you are listening on the podcast side, where our heart and center of our Star Wars fandom has always been with the podcast listeners now, and are coming up on our 11th broadcast year, Jen. Speaking of years.
Anniversaries.
It's anniversaries everywhere. We got more of the Skeleton Crew. We're focusing on this story today. We also got a new look at Jude Law's Jude Law. Looking very scoundrel-like. It's been pointed out by several folks that he's got a almost Lando-like shirt. It was the style at the time, so it would make sense. Maybe Lando's a fashion trendsetter in the Star Wars galaxy, and Jude's got a similar shirt. But I do like it. I like that Jude Law's here. I think he's your bankable star that you do need for this series, even though it's a series about kids. So, Jen, I turn to you for Star Wars fashion advice. What are you feeling about this photo?
I love when people do those zoom ins and circling.
Yep.
This is the same style of shirt. I mean, obviously, I don't think that it is Lando's shirt. I mean, maybe, possibly, found it in a shop somewhere. But it does kind of give that familiarity to clue us in on what type of character this is. He's a scoundrel. Yep. We can't take everything he says literally or believe that he's telling the truth all the time.
What can I ask? Because I agree with you. But I'm looking at the photo now. I want to talk about that blaster and also the blaster that were on the pirates. I didn't really focus on that. Like, they look like pirate blasters, so that's interesting. That we can talk about that. But just looking at this picture, he's got a great Star Wars jacket, which we know is something you need. He's got the shirt. But what is it? Is it the chest hair poking out of the shirt that reminds you of Han Solo in 77? Like, he's a scoundrel, but I'm trying to get to the core of why. I know it, but I don't understand. It's the neckline?
No, you're totally right. It's the neckline is kind of like that rumpled kind of like just woke up on an adventure look. It is the chest hair.
It's the devil may care attitude.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? He kind of has like a steampunk vibe going on between the blaster and the jacket and the details.
As did the pirates. Going back to that, that was the last first part of the conversation. But yeah, the blasters itself, I hadn't really focused on it until looking at this picture of Jude Law. I mean, that is a different kind of blaster. It looks like the blasters that I used to purchase. Do you remember this? This is an old Disney Anaheim thing. They got rid of them. But right next to Pirates of the Caribbean was that store that sold all the pirate guns.
Yes, I remember that.
And I have about 6 of them as a kid because it was every year I wanted a new one, or every time we went. This looks like it. It's completely space pirate blasters. Something relatively new, at least to me in Star Wars. I'm excited about that.
Yes, I am too. I love pirates.
You heard it here first. We love pirates. The jacket's working for me too. We talk about the importance of Star Wars capes and jackets. This trench coat has... If they sell this at Galaxy's Edge, it'll be priced to go about $250, but it'll be worth it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this looks like designer style jacket that would be like $1,000 in real life. It's really nice looking. And I can't tell, but it certainly looks like almost duster length. It looks a little bit longer, which really kind of plays into that Western kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm. Now, we talked about this before, and I'll just throw us a curveball in our conversation, Jen. There's obviously speculation because Jude Law seems and appears to use the Force in the trailer, which was something that was actually revealed in London, but then we saw it recently when they released the footage publicly. And then based on this conversation that emerged in this article on Entertainment Weekly, it wasn't saying, by the way, that Jude's a Jedi or that anyone in the series is a Jedi. It was just this conversation that they were having Filoni. But the idea of, hey, we don't know who the leader is. A lot of people, because he is a scoundrel, carefree with chest hair, don't want to trust Jude Law quite yet as a character. The open speculation, I was talking with our buddy Ken Plume. He agrees with this too. I think he was the one who was kind of putting it in my ear, actually, of just like, what if we have a Jedi pirate leader and it's this guy? Do Do you want to see that kind of Jedi? A Jedi, I'm using the general sense, too, of a Force user, someone, I'm not saying he's an Order 66 survivor or anything, who knows. A Force wielder pirate who doesn't do good in the galaxy. But he's not bad, he's not Sith, he's not dark side.
I like it because it does make sense that people would have these powers, right? Even if you've never been recruited by the Jedi Order or been swayed to go to the dark side, like it just kind of makes sense that some people would just have this natural ability. And how would they use it? Well, I'm guessing that they would probably use it for their own benefit, whether it's, surviving or money or whatnot. So I think it's fun. It gets to the mysticism of Star Wars. It keeps in line with the magic of Star Wars. And it could work. It would also indicate power, right? That's how we would become the leader because he can do these powerful things.
Yeah. And so maybe, and if he is, this is again open speculation. We like to speculate responsibly around here. But if Jude Law is a Force wielding pirate leader who's lying to the kids for some reason, maybe that increases Hondo Anaka's chances of showing up. Going, I've been around Jedi. That's no Jedi. Like maybe that's it. But if his heart opens up because of the kids, he helps them for nefarious reasons at first. And again, he could be purely good. He could be what he seems to be on the surface and not bad at all. But there's something you said before the break of like, hey, a series with quote out Jedi. I actually agree with that idea of like, hey, it'd be nice in a way, but the Force existing, you can't take that away. And in a series about 4 kids trying to find out about the galaxy, this sort of magic. We've already seen one of the kids kind of has this, the heroes of old and the Jedi of old and the stories of old. I just like that the Force as magic would exist in this story, an Amblin-like story.
Yeah, and that's why I like Jude Law for the casting choice of this character, because I think that he really is able to have a twinkle in his eye and have this kind of enigmatic quality about him that's like impish and like, come with me on this fun little adventure, right? There's just something about him that he's able to tap into that. Certainly like Talented Mr. Ripley, where he's so charming and you just want to follow him anywhere, right? And so I think that that's what he's going to bring to this role, and it's going to lead to whatever type of character he is, whether it's a Jedi or just, I don't know, scoundrel.
Scoundrel with the Force. He, unlike Han Solo, he actually believes in some of the crazy magic. He just, uses it in a different way or connects it a different way. This show is set during the same time frame as the so-called Mandoverse, which means the New Republic is struggling to hold on to peace in a post-Imperial galaxy. We know we have the Thrawn of it all. We have Filoni's movie, if we ever get to that, and I think we will. We got Ahsoka Season 2. A lot of big stuff going on, a lot of pieces on the board, but co-creator Christopher Ford said this: with the era we're in, we're kind of getting to play with that lawless thing. The Empire's gone, and so we're playing with a part of the galaxy that has a resurgence of piracy. So one of the ways I wanted to approach this statement, Jennifer, was looking at the idea of, back a few years, again, almost to that 10-year mark, we all thought this era was ripe for the picking. We wanted to know the state of the galaxy after The Force Awakens kind of painted some broad strokes of the post-Imperial years. And now that we're in this era, and that includes Mando and some stuff we've already seen, Book of Boba Fett, I wanted to ask how it's working for us as fans, especially older fans who maybe spent decades wondering about the post-fall of the Empire and the Ewoks dancing and the fireworks and what happens next. And I wanted to ask maybe, sub-question of how can looking at it through the eyes of these 4 kids add to that. So go back to 1983, Jen. What do you think now that you're finally getting some of these answers?
I love it. And I feel like we've only scratched the surface. I mean, like you're saying, there's a lot of things on the chessboard with Thrawn and things like that. But I think with this show... Witches, right? Exactly. There's a lot of like canon, but at the same time, it feels like it's just so much more open, and there's so many different areas of the galaxy that we can explore, and certainly pirates. It kind of taps into, I always love like exploring the underworld, and I want them to do that more. And I think that like, I want to get into the culture of the pirates. I want to know, what is kind of like, what do they do? What are their rules? What is kind of like their social norms? The infighting, the politics of that. And I think that that's what's fun about this time period. I don't know.
Yeah, I like this idea that they mentioned wild space, meaning to me as a Star Wars fan, that just means kind of uncharted areas, pushing towards other galaxies. I don't think this is going to go to Pridia, and you're not going to run into, space turtles or any of the things in Ahsoka that, we either love or don't. But it puts it on a playing field that is not so familiar, even though it's an era that we're now spending a lot of time in and getting those answers. And I do generally like the answers we're getting. Of course, it's never going to come out beat for beat the way I'd want it, especially as a kid in 1983. But the idea that it's not an easy transition, that's very realistic to me, that the Empire or those still loyal would be around. I like all that. But to remove this series to me is going to remove itself a little bit from that. So like Ford says, you can play with that. But that's why I like the kids aspect of it, where they're just seeing it on the surface in a wonderful way. So they're not concerned about Mon Mothma trying to hold on to. They probably don't know who Princess Leia is, or they heard about her on the Hollows, and they're just taking it all as they see it. And that way, you could explore what's happening in the galaxy, and you can explore the resurgency of piracy without it being too granular. And it could have the. It's going to have that stuff. It's going to have the important stuff. The pirates are these disenfranchised drifters. Who knows? Who knows what their world was during the Imperial reign? And I still think the Imperials probably worked in concert with them, as we've seen with like some of the underworld stuff with the criminal syndicates and everything. But I don't know. The kid aspect is just a fun way to explore it with a little less pressure, especially going back to the answers I would have wanted from 1983, if that makes sense.
Oh, 100%. And there's something about, I love that diving into the mundane, right? Like what would life have been like during this time period if you are a kid and, all this stuff is going on around you, like you're talking about, and yet kids are just worried about making friends in school or feeling ostracized or having to do homework or sitting in class, like getting that, but making it Star Wars. That is so, to me, it's like, shockingly, the mundane is shockingly original and unique because we have not really ever focused on that in Star Wars.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun to see it this way. And again, we're speculating, but it's like as much as we both loved Andor, and that's wonderfully granular to me, where you're going down to the conversations at parties with Mothma, and you're going into one-to-one comparisons with real world politics. I think this is going to be fun to explore all those things. And come down on a clear side, but to explore it through the eyes of kids just trying to get out of the space suburbs or get back to them. That's fun.
Right. The space suburbs. I mean, because I think about obviously Luke, and that's kind of like the mundane on Tatooine, right? But the space suburbs is, like you're saying, a one-to-one comparison to the Valley, right? And so that to me is like, oh yes.
You know what it is? If Luke is in Modesto, these kids are in San Jose, and they just want to go back to San Jose.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
That's what it is. And in terms of the overall, I going back to, I keep saying go back to 83, but that's because even as the Ewoks were dancing, you've always wondered what was next. That's why we had our Star Wars action figures. That's why we took them to the playgrounds, and who didn't continue the story. That's why I always say Force Awakens succeeded in so many ways, but one of the biggest ones is I don't think a story ever had that much pressure on it, because an entire generation of fans, some of whom grew up to be rather prickly about it, had been planning Episode 7 in their head for decades. Yeah. And I don't know. I like exploring what it is. It's not always going to be perfect, of course, but I think this is a fun way to look at it, as I said. So our conversation's about done here, Jen. We just had a look at Skeleton Crew. But in closing, I think we kind of tipped our hand a little bit. And you and I are trying to be as honest as we can about still love Star Wars, still a lifelong fan. ForceCenter's going strong, but it's been a tougher year. Not for anything that's just on air, whether you like the content or not, or like the stories being told. Just it's been a trying, dark time in the fandom for a little bit now. And I'm carrying some of that weight with me as a Star Wars fan. And my current hopes for Skeleton Crew, like I said, are that it will bring a sense of joy back, that it will be its own thing. And it's a holiday bucket and bushel of hope, Jen, is my final Skeleton Crew thoughts. Yours?
I love that. And I hope that the word of mouth is really good, because that's what's going to make it a major hit. I hope it just does well. I want it to be fun to watch. I want people to enjoy it. And I want for people to be respectful when they talk about it online and to remember these are kids. Yes, they're professional actors, but they are children. And would you really say it to their face in person? If you would never say it, don't put it online, because that's just, we don't want to go down that road. We've been down that road with Star Wars before.
Going back to 1999, huh?
Yeah. So let's keep the conversation friendly, or at least separate from the kids.
Yeah, we could try. We'll try. We'll
try. Yeah.
I don't know about others. So there you go. That's our look at some of the breaking Skeleton Crew news. In keeping with ForceCenter tradition, I'm sure something will be released after we finish recording and put this episode down into the permanent record. So we'll revisit that. And plus, when Joseph returns, we'll get his take on the chest hair scoundrelousness of it all. And what are the themes in a low-cut men's top in Star Wars there? What do we got? We're out of here today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. You can find us on social media at ForceCenter Pod. We're on Facebook page. Our Facebook page is ForceCenter Podcast. We're on Instagram, YouTube as well. As you know by now, podcast is available in a lot of different spots. Just search, you'll find us. Merch available at tpublic.com/user/ForceCenter, or you can click the links down below here on YouTube and check our new fourth wall store that will be growing soon, but you can get some items there. You can support us directly, as we said up top, at patreon.com/ForceCenter. You can follow me at Ken Napzok, or go to my website, kennapzok.com. If you like music, my show Pop Rock Radio is back up and running, but in different form. It's still on Mixcloud, where it's been, but if you like some rock music, a little pop rock music, you can listen live on Hall of Fame Music Radio, Sunday nights at midnight Eastern, 9 Pacific, or anywhere via a radio streaming app like TuneIn or Radio Box. Jen, where can they find and follow you?
You can find me and all my pirate-loving thoughts all over the place on social media at Jennifer Landa, or TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138.
There it is. Don't forget to follow Joseph at Joseph Scrimshaw across social media platforms. He is having a wonderful adventure in the Hoth, one of the Hoths of America, getting ready to create some great art. So he'll be back soon enough. We'll see you all next time here on ForceCenter.